24 hours, even before I'm president.
Real gangster. Well, you can tell by the way I hold my strap, I'm a gangster. AKs and 9s, I'm smoking loud and I'm on that drink at the party. Just committed a crime, we took the money, we took the cane, we took his car, we took his chain. We saw the cops, they came our way. We peeled off and got away. We taking over blocks and then we run into the ops. They get hit with the 9, hit with the 9. Give me all your money, you don't wanna be a dummy and get hit with the 9, hit with the 9. Ba, 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 hit with the 9, hit with the 9. Ba, 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 hit with the 9.
All right, it's good to have something to do with your time.
I love that. Hit with the 9. All right, gang. Welcome to another edition of Hot Program. I'm your host with the most, all the way from the East Coast. And as always, good people, I am in airplane mode, and now a man who sent no introduction because
Yes,
he needs no introduction.
It was last week's introduction. I sent it last week. Now a man who previously sent an introduction for last week would need to use it.
Yeah, I'll use it next week.
Yeah, so no, read it off. What did I say? I forget what I said. What did I have in there?
I don't see it.
No, it may have been fractionally
now
brilliant.
A man who has had the last thing he needed to happen. A man who needs no introduction. There you go.
Hello, Pocket Locker. How you doing today?
I'm all right.
All right. Staying alive. Staying
alive. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, we can go ahead and jump into today's show. We got a real good one today. I always like to see Black content creators really kind of just doing what we do, which is owning the critique of religion and really saying it with their whole chest. I think this guy, he's giving me maybe even mid-20s vibe. You could tell me he's in his late 20s, but I'm definitely still feeling like a younger energy, like we're speaking to like a maybe younger generation or something. So it's really encouraging. But yeah, y'all get ready for it, because this guy's taking the a real tone to all of this. All right, let's
Wait,
see.
Let me have you. Thought that was my nephew for a second. Can you put up the definition of psychosis, please? Like, can we
Yeah,
find
let's
a? Can you
see.
please find a clinical definition?
Sure.
So, ladies and gentlemen, Pocket Locker is highlighting.
Psychosis.
Go
Psychosis
ahead.
is a mental health condition characterized by a loss of contact with reality. Uh,
Does
it
it go on to
involves
say
a
a little more by
combination of
chance?
symptoms that can cause significant distress and impairment in daily function. Hallucinations, experiencing sensory perceptions, hearing voices, seeing things that are not real. Delusions, holding false beliefs that are not based on reality. Despite evidence to the contrary, disorganized thinking and speech, difficulty communicating clearly, using jumbled or illogical language, emotional disturbances, experience intense emotions such as fear, anxiety, or paranoia, withdrawal from social activities, avoiding social interactions, and isolating oneself. So yeah, I mean, to be honest, I don't really want to take this thing down this whole route because I feel like it gets into the whole like is it diagnosed thing. And we've gone down this route. We know it's not diagnosed, but we also know it's not diagnosed for the reasons of not meeting the definition of psychosis. It's not diagnosed because of concerns about the social consequences or the political consequences.
Yeah, if you were to read the diagnostic and statistical, I think it is manual. I think they're on version 5 now. There's an exclusion for religion.
Yeah,
There
but
wasn't version 4.
why would you need that? if you have to have the exception in there, it means you meet the criteria, but we're giving you a pass, is what it means.
Yeah, I think that is out of politeness and respect. Um, I we can, as you were reading the definition, I could think of people who would say, God spoke to me and he told me this, or Jesus spoke to me and he told me this. The Lord put this on my heart.
I would be
Sayings like
gaslit.
that.
I would feel incredibly offended and gaslit if somebody tried to tell me that it doesn't meet the definition of psychosis. There's a lot to this, but part of what's changing for me is like I'm becoming far more critical of the people outside the religion who won't critique it with their whole chest. And that it's just we don't have time for this anymore. Like we really have to understand that this is not something to be played with. But part of that is I have to own my identity as a former believer. I have to own my identity as somebody who comes from a family where I can show you the generations of indoctrination. And I have to own my identity as somebody who even now feels my family is too far gone, lost, and literally inhuman. Like their faith is so strong that like they're terrible people, and it's because they worship this religion that is anti-human. And so now I have to put myself in that space and then say that shit to me, because that's what I find what people do is they center the religious people, and that's fine. That's part of our culture. Our culture, you have to remember, our culture is religiously indoctrinated. So it's not just that a lot of us as individuals grew up in these cults. We grew up in a society where this cult literally got to set the framework of how people interact, whether you're part of it or not, right? You could go talk to Jewish people, Muslims, Hindus, and spiritual people, right? They can all tell you how to operate in a Christian world because they have to. Christians couldn't tell you a goddamn thing about how to operate in their world, right? The most they could tell you, a Christian could tell you, is like, I've been to their church, I had a friend bring me to one of their functions. Yeah, I've been to a dinner or an event or whatever, and like you got through that and you could relate that as a cultural experience. But you would have no idea how to get by in a society where, for instance, those religions were dominating the government or dominating our social space. And so what happens is the very way that we think of as being our public discourse and all of that stuff, it's like they get to set the frame. And so everybody is so concerned about offending them and upsetting them. And people overlook the fact that there's victims, that there's people who've been through this, and that, and then you got to do that. And I'm just saying this to people in the audience because I really do think it's like a very powerful way to approach all this. Like, say that to me, because they lose sight of the fact that there's those of us that fell prey to this, and now we're not anymore. So yeah, that's all I'm saying is like it kind of gets, we kind of get swept under the rug, I feel, but it gives us a lot of power to say like, no, like, yo, I really feel like they lied to me my whole life. I really feel like they tried to get me to dedicate my life to this. I really feel like they took so much of my time, my energy, my resources. I was even thinking about my education. I'm so lucky because I hate to say this, but my family's kind of naive about Christianity. Like they're so in it. It's their whole life and their whole identity. But the truth is they don't really know shit about it and they don't understand it. And that's terrible to say because my grandfather's like a doctorate of, he's like a doctor of theology or some shit like that because he went to Bible college or whatever. And my grandmother is like a master's of theology or divinity, whatever it is. And it's funny there because she's actually a way better student than my grandfather. But the reason she didn't get the doctorate herself is because she didn't feel like it was right for a woman to have the same education as her husband. So she deliberately and intentionally and strategically and bragging to the whole family about it, consciously chose to not elevate herself, even within their cult, to the same level of education as her husband. So that's what I mean when I say it to my face, because that, you know what I'm saying? We have these real stories about stuff that's going on in our life. And so I just feel like this is nothing for people to play with. But yeah, I do really feel like, okay, because I wanted to say this. I don't put it on people, on you necessarily, but I think even this whole thing we're talking about with the psychosis and making the exceptions, all, I think that's grossly irresponsible. I think that's grossly irresponsible. I'm not a psychiatrist, so I kind of stay in my lane. But from the way I understand it, it's like that's your job, and this is exactly what I'm talking about. It's like your job to be clear with people about when there's really something to be concerned about. And I get it. You know, you might live. I don't care. What if 99.9% of everybody in the entire population is Christian? If it's a delusion, say it's a delusion. You act like the psychiatrist saying it's a delusion or defining it clearly in the DSM or something means everybody's going to deconvert overnight. They just don't want the angry letters. They don't want to deal with the rage. And trust me, the rage would be there. But this is what I mean. As long as we all continue to do, we're giving into the Christofascism. This is what they're saying in the resistance now, that you never comply early. You never comply in advance. Make them take it from you. So it gets annoying because then when those of us who see it for what it is try to call it out for what it is, we have all these other people jumping in front of the bus telling us you can't say that about them or it doesn't really count. That's why as soon as that went down that road, that triggered me so much, because I've literally gotten arguments with people about this. And it's like I have to explain to them, just because something isn't defined a certain way by a very specific group in one specific book doesn't mean it's not that. And we still have the ability and the responsibility as individuals to say, what is delusion or what is psychosis or whatever, and then decide for ourselves if something meets it so that we can understand how to deal with it. And then, of course, the other thing is, you know, people are loose with language, right? And so I don't know that necessarily when somebody says something is delusional or crazy or psychosis or whatever, like, are they themselves trying to make a I don't go there. I usually go to like, you know, there's typically a difference between how a term is used in a highly regimented academic field versus how it's used in everyday life.
Right.
There's a lot of examples of this. The word theory means something very different in science than it does in common parlance. The word evolution means something very different in regular parlance than right. I could go on with a whole list of terms like this. And so I tend to just hear people out and then kind of go like, oh, okay, I think this person's just using it kind of in like the common language way, and we could rock with that and see if I think that according to the way we kind of use it in popular culture, if I'm with them, or I'll say like, oh, this person clearly is articulating the very technical concept and trying to make that case, and then we can have that conversation. What I think gets frustrating to me is when people deliberately cross the signals. In other words, when somebody is having a conversation about the technical thing and we step outside that, or somebody is not trying to use it in that way, and then we have the conversation about whether or not it's actually diagnosable. And I'm like, I don't think they were really going there.
Pocket
Yeah.
Lifer, I think why I ask you to read that definition, it's important when having a conversation of this depth that we do understand what the terms are.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Yeah, I agree to
terms are
that
being applied.
100%. Yeah, for sure.
So
For sure.
if
I was
we
happy to read it, by the way. That was a good idea.
okay, good.
Yeah.
If
Yeah.
we fail to do that, we may have people talking about those terms in completely different ways. Somebody's up here, somebody's down here, or over here.
Yeah. Yeah.
You
Yeah.
just
No,
don't know.
totally.
And
Totally.
so, though, I think it's harder to find where they agree, where the common ground is, when that understanding is missing. Now, I do think, especially someone who's an educator like yourself, it is important to say professionally, here's how this term is used. But for the sake of this conversation, I understand what you mean by evolution, and then restating what they said they think it is. So we'll discuss that. However, you are whatever, how the person may be close, the person may be completely wrong about how they're using the term. You owe it to them to correct them. But we
Yeah.
can talk about what you think, what you thought was evolution, or do you want to now use the definition I just put forth, which is the practical, for all
Right.
practical purposes, definition?
Yeah.
They still, if it's somebody who's just, they have their lie that they've been saying for years, they're going to want to do it their way. But the way I feel about commenting on, what trolls post and stuff like that is, I don't owe anything to the person who made that post,
Yeah.
because they might be unredeemable,
So,
irredeemable, whatever the term is, but their audience may not be so far gone.
yeah,
So
that's
who I'm going for, right? I hear Matt Dillahunty talk about that. I take the same tactic. I'm here for your audience. I'm
yeah,
not here for you. I'm
the
talking to
thing
an
is,
interlocutor.
I'm a little bit unsure about that thing. Like, I don't know about the audience thing. I tend to think for us it becomes a bit of a, I don't know. It's just all over the place. I'm all over the place. Like some, because it's good and it breaks through people. I just think a lot of times that shouldn't be our primary motivation. I feel like if you go into a situation and it's a bad vibe, don't go into it just because you think the audience might be more reasonable, because the reality is audiences are pretty self-selecting these days. So there's a really good chance the audience is just as bad as the content creator, right? Because a lot of times that's why people go to that particular content creator, right? And so it's just a thing that I always wonder about. I don't disagree necessarily with the tact. I think if you're going to be in that situation, it's obviously the case 99.9% of the time that the person you're debating or whatever is probably a lost cause. And so you're hoping that the audience is more reasonable. But it's like, if you're, and this is like a critique of myself, right? Like I did this when I debated Kent Hovind, right? Like the reality was the people in that audience that were winnable being people who self-select as diehard Kent Hovind loyalists is like next to nobody. You see what I'm saying? And even though, and that led us to do it, like we took a totally different approach to open that door and have fun. And I don't necessarily regret all of that. When I look back on it, like it was fun. And like, we had a lot of time on stream in this community, like preparing for that event. And it was all worth it just for that. Like it was super fun to plan it and do all the promos and whatever. Like it was a totally fun thing. But if I were to honestly evaluate, like, how many people did we win over? Like in the end, it was maybe like literally a handful of people at best who maybe showed genuine interest and interacted. And then really like Lupin became like the main person who kind of like came over and tried to interact with us, and he ended up being a nightmare. So it just is one of the things where I got to be realistic. Like, yeah, if you're a huge William Lane Craig fan, like that's a hard win for me. And then the reason I say that is because I just wonder again, it's like, how much are we centering them? So if y'all know, a lot of y'all know, I'm not being able. Shayna Condi, I think, is the name, and I'm a huge fan of her stuff. I watch a lot of her stuff. She's like the light skinned black lady. We've seen her on stream a few times, but I talk about her stuff on my podcast too. And you know, she's international. She's like all about helping like black people especially get out of America. But one of the things she's constantly talking about on her channel is decentering men. And it ends up just being a very powerful framework for me and thinking in my own life about what I give my attention, time, and talent to. And so part of what I try to do is decenter Christianity and decenter religious believers. It's and I just want to say that that's like kind of a thing I get from her, really being focused on decentering men. Yeah. You're back. You're here. And then the oh, he probably popped out. He's gonna probably pop back in. I think he's just having an issue with his restream or something. Not really sure. He always is joining us from a phone, so you know, this is what it is. All right. Let's see. He should be backstage. Here we go. Yeah, can you hear me?
I hear you. My wife has entered the chat.
Yeah, cool.
Out of the room.
So my thing is,
go ahead, Pocket Lock.
Yeah, and you can. I don't know. Do you have a mute button on your end on the phone that you can see?
I do. I have it on the screen here.
Yeah. No, I was just saying, I don't know if she was ever gonna like talk to you or whatever, if you didn't want to see her conversation. It's just more for your, just for you to be able to think about. All right, but yeah, so I just want to acknowledge this thing, which is weird, because I was really inspired by Shayna to really decenter faith, decenter believers, decenter Christianity. And I know that might sound weird because you talk about them all the time, like that's what you do. I actually don't think those are contradictions. Like, decentering is about saying we're taking the focus off of them, or we're taking the power back. That doesn't mean that we're not interested or that we're not critical of it. Matter of fact, it usually typically means we're more critical of it. And that decentering is something we're doing actively. Now, some people decenter, they say, oh, I decenter men. That means I don't even think about them or talk about them. But I just want people to recognize that it's not necessarily that. It's just saying that they're no longer going to be the perspective that we consider above all others. So yeah. All right. But yeah, let's jump into this dude. I actually think he's good, and it's 15 minutes. We're trying to keep our episode reasonable today. But yeah, just warning, he's going to jump right into it. So I love the way he starts this off.
Ready to critical think? First and foremost, if you're a Christian and you are not ready to critical think, click off this video. I don't care that your mama was a Christian. I don't care that your daddy was a Christian, her daddy, her grandmama. Listen, we critical think over here. Now, recently on TikTok, a whole debate has been started again about Christianity. Deontay Cal from the Grits and Egg podcast, he made a very controversial video about Jesus and Christianity, man. Let's check it out.
Jesus is standing in the way of the power of your gratitude really being fulfilled, right?
Facts.
You are misplacing your gratitude. You give all of the gratitude to the blood of Jesus and his sacrifice, but our ancestors spilled their blood, sacrificed their lives, sacrificed their pride, sacrificed their dignity, and endured not only for our sake, but for the sake of your children. They had us in mind, right? And they don't get any acknowledgement. You don't acknowledge your own blood that was sacrificed. You acknowledge the sacrifice of this man. They called on him. He didn't show up. He gets all the glory. You should be glorifying your ancestors.
Right.
And that reminds me, we got to actually watch it. I was trying to find it. We talked about that movie where the Jews put God on trial. But yeah, it's crazy. Like, you know, people don't understand too, like, man, black people, we've always been the OG genocided. We've always been the OG culturally erased. We've always been the OG ethnic cleansing. So people understand that, like, they literally stole our ancestors and brought us over here to enslave us. And on top of that, like, they took our culture, they took our religion, they took everything from us. And really didn't even think we were worth indoctrinating. They didn't want to make us Christian because at the time they didn't think they could properly enslave Christians. But eventually they decided that actually they should teach us Christianity because the Bible actually justifies and legitimizes slavery. And they could just exclude, the parts about anything that would inspire us to freedom. And then they could use the Bible to justify our continued enslavement. And so then after that, you really do have the emergence of, Black people being faithful. And I do understand that there's always been a story told because eventually they, slavery ended. And so Black people today, using something we call temporocentrism, which is it's basically like ethnocentrism, but it's like instead of thinking your own culture is the most important, you think your own time is the most important, and you discount the experience of the past or the future. And so it's easy for people today who have a lot of rights and liberties relative to those enslaved ancestors to say, oh, actually their prayers were answered. And look at, we shall overcome and all this. Black people, I don't know if people know this, but Black Americans literally read themselves into the Exodus story of the Bible, which is ironic because that was
A lot of
part
them
of the
do, yes.
because that was part of the Bible that they were actually not allowed to read because it wasn't in the slave Bible. But it's like, they really do hold on to that instead of recognizing how many of our ancestors actually did not have their prayers answered, and in the ways that they were brutalized, and then the ways that Black people continue to be brutalized now. And I would actually argue our prayers still have not been answered. Because part of let's talk about why this is really happening, y'all. A lot of this is really happening because of Charlie Kirk. A lot of this is really happening because of the way America immediately moved to lionize this professional racist and literally make him the first saint of MAGA in the Air Force Two and Charlie Kirk Boulevard and the white man's trauma and literally probably about to make us a Charlie Kirk holiday. Okay. And all of a sudden, Black people was like, whoa, what's going on? And so you have seen Black Christians coping with this. And there's been kind of two sides. The coons are all tap dancing, kind of like, well, I'm a Christian first and foremost, and don't be so Black that, you're not a Christian. And then there's the other side going like, wait, what are y'all talking about? Like, this is racism and y'all are not true Christians because the true Christianity is all about freedom and Black people. And, and then there's those of us that really understand how ridiculous all of this is. And we're also despairing over this moment because it's like all of this is going on and y'all still trying to have this inside baseball conversation. I'm still stuck between the rock and the hard place of MAGA Christian nationalists literally about to give us federal holidays over known racists. And then I got all the Black people in my life and they're having their own insider debate about whether or not they should be Christian first or Black Christian first. And ain't none of it. And it's just like it was with the damn rapture conversations where they were laughing at the people for believing the rapture was going to happen, but they weren't laughing because they don't think the rapture is going to happen. They were laughing because they had an issue with the scheduling. And so it's just so crazy because what I'm getting at is we still live in this society that is openly racist. Think about the conversations we've been having lately on the left. We've been talking about how John Roberts, the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court of the United States of America today in 2025, is the largest enemy of black voting rights that we've seen in our lifetime. That they're reaching back in history to bygone eras to find Supreme Court justices that are as strongly against the rights of black people to vote as John Roberts. We know a man who used to put big ass C's on the top of housing applications to make sure they did not give housing opportunities to black folks, is the president of the United States of America, and openly signals his racism to an entire base in this country. And then you have all of the other white folks who know that that's who these people are. But as long as they say some bullshit, as long as they say, oh no, we're just trying to keep the Democrats out of power. Oh no, we just don't want our taxes to go up. Oh no, we just want to protect and have a strong border, can then get away with empowering the most openly racist. We literally have one of the richest men in the world, Zig Heiling. Like, they literally did a Nazi rally at Madison Square Garden. The whole thing is still happening wide out in the open. So please tell me, black Christians, how Jesus is on our side, because it looks to me like we shall overcome. We ain't overcome nothing. This country is still racist to its core, from the rooter to the tutor, talking about the highest levels of power in the society are openly anti-black. So I've had enough. And there's all this Christian, but Christians constantly have to be dragged, kicking and screaming, to do the right thing. So I'm done, because there's no integrity to it. It's all a bunch of lies. But on top of that, they are the worst people, and they cannot behave themselves. That's the real problem. All right, look, I gotta stop rambling. I gotta get back in. Oh my goodness.
Well, I'll chime in here. So
Oh my goodness.
I've had a lot of jobs in my lifetime, like varied kind of jobs, from cleaning up horse poop to being like the third highest person in a company, right? I've had to work on revising the employee manual. What would I do differently? As if it were all up to me. That's how I'm supposed to rewrite the employee manual. A lot of good rules and regulations in there. I was very interested in how the previous rules of the manual were arrived at, and had long discussions about that. And in many cases, I can improve on that. I think there's way more thinking that has gone into it than I have time to invest. Creative though I may be, I think that it is, what I kept seeing was well thought out. I had a suggestion or two here or there, but for the most part, I wouldn't change much. When it comes to Christianity and other religions, they have, most of them, holy books that set out what they are supposed to do, how they should conduct themselves, essentially what their points of view need to be, the points of view of the founders, the points of view of the leaders. They're often all there. But then the believer comes along and says, well, I don't agree with that. So I'm going to exclude that from how I believe. I don't believe in this over here. I'm going to exclude that too. And what is produced is a faith that would be unrecognizable as Christian by Jesus himself. Because people have left so much out. Why? There was a woman, I will not forget her. She was a singer. She still is a singer. She spoke about comfort. So what's she going to give up? Her song is called Will. Lindsay Russell is her name. Either my peace or my comfort. It depends on what I choose. Like, what is she going to give up in order to live a Christian lifestyle? And that really stuck with me, because I think that's a lot of people. How much of their comfort are they willing to give away in order to be called under the banner
So
of Christian.
this is the crux of it to me, actually, which is I think it's all bullshit. I think it's such bullshit. Even the notions of like we do this thing where we create good religions out of bad ones, and we do it for believers. Their books are fucking disgusting. Their books are fucking disgusting. Sorry, that wasn't a true moment, my friend. That's just for those that think I'm hesitating.
Well, I
I
can think of things in the Bible that disgust me. That's why I am not a Christian.
But I don't have to, yeah, I know, and we don't have to read far. But see, as soon as God drowns the whole world, I'm good. I'm good. I have this fantasy conversation with my mom, and I have to sit her down and like look at her and explain to her that if I were to die and somehow end up at the pearly gates and get invited into heaven because God just decided I was a good person, I deserve to go to heaven, I would curse that motherfucker out and say, what the fuck do I have to say to you so that you will send me to fucking hell? Because I fucking hate you, and I would not spend 5 fucking minutes with your God. Your God is disgusting. I would not spend 5 fucking minutes with him. Send me back to earth so I can steal some shit so I can die in sin now. Because I want no parts of that fucking disgusting monster. And every single major fucking religion has been used to do monstrous shit. The only thing is I didn't grow up in them, so I don't know them that well. But they're all responsible for fucking atrocities. And so why people act like it's cute to go in and cherry pick and then construct that as the true religion for them. The true religion of Christianity is the Jesus that said, love everybody, and he was amazing, and he loved the poor people, and he hung out with the weirdos. And why are we doing that? We all know that God drowned everything. We all know how the story ends. His son needed to be sacrificed and died. We know that the same God that said he literally made a rainbow. He made a rainbow to promise us he would not drown the entire planet again, but the next time he would destroy it by fire. Like I'm not having a conversation with any of these people about morality, family values. Good. The problem in society is that they're terrible people, and they don't have good values. And then the real truth is all that and it's not you, but it's the Christians. All that bullshit Christians about how uncomfortable you must be and what you have to sacrifice for Jesus. You are just yourself full of shit. And what you are doing is you are pretending that you are willing to sacrifice and do all these things and be uncomfortable just so you can hold on to your faith despite all reason, when in reality what you're really doing is prioritizing your comfort over anything else and refusing to step away from this religion, refusing to question this religion, refusing to acknowledge how you participating in this religion is contributing to the downfall of society, because you must remain comfortable in your faith above all else. So please understand, when I talk to any believer, especially above the age of 25, when I could really say you are grown, for real grown, I know I am talking to someone who their personal comfort and unwillingness to question what they have believed their whole life is their whole existence. So like my family, that's the problem. They demand that the rest of the world make them comfortable in their bullshit. And so when they get to I sacrifice this and I'm so hardcore and I forgo all these things, what they're really trying to do is signal to the rest of us, this thing is so serious to me. Please don't challenge me. Please don't challenge me. I can't handle being challenged. So, and that's what they do. And that is a manipulation. And it's this really pathetic manipulation. So what believers actually do is they behave badly to avoid being challenged. They break down into tears, or they act like they're being persecuted, or they act like everybody's being so mean to them, or why would you do this to me? I don't bother anybody. I'm just a Christian. Please don't harm. I'm just a Christian. I just go to church and I sing and I love and I praise Jesus, and I'm not bothering anybody. I'm not pushing my beliefs on any, like this whole victim mentality that they break out literally because somebody wants to tell you like, yo, like you're just literally saying shit that we know is factually not true in 2025. And like, meanwhile, like all the bad guys in society like are Christians. Black men are still being lynched, gang. I must be Miss Cleo with the crystal ball, because every time a black man is lynched in America, I 1000% know that it was a white Christian that did it. How crazy is that? I can literally identify a horrible ass crime. Black man was hung from a tree. Must have been a Christian. Must have been a Christian. I will bet 1,000. Please take me up on this $1,000 bet that the next time a black man is hung in America it was a Christian. It'll be the easiest money I ever made in my life. So I told y'all this one gonna have me on one, y'all.
It's literally your blood. It's in your genetic code. You might wake something up because you'll not only be glorifying yourself, you'll be glorifying the people who are the reason you're here in the first place. And I think that's one of the issues that we don't talk about as it pertains to Christianity. We get into a lot of the bag of whether he exists or not. Now, he exists, he doesn't. Yeshua, whatever. You know, he's acknowledged as a prophet. I respect that, right? He's in Islam, he's acknowledged as a prophet. But the overarching image of Jesus in the Christian religion is of him on the cross, the sacrifice he made, the blood he shed. Huh? But what about the blood that our ancestors shed here on this land for us? For this country? Inventing in spite of, building cities, operating in the free market. Huh? The free market was good until it was a thriving black community. Then they interrupted it. They was all about the free market until that happened.
They seen
shout out,
was,
they just shout out for that. The blood you should be praising is literally coursing through your veins.
He just said what I've been saying for forever, especially on this channel. I was like, instead of us praising, you know, God or Jesus, whatever, why not give that same thanks to the ancestors that died to give us rights, you know, going through civil rights, Jim Crow.
Oh, hang on real quick. So Robin, y'all don't know, Robin's one of my besties. I love you, Robin. Robin sends me the best shit, but she sent me this Charlie Kirk meme. It's an actual meme. What never gets old. 1, jokes about Charlie Kirk, and 2, Charlie Kirk. I love it. We got 86-47, y'all. Oh man. Also, I wanted to say this real quick about the whole religious psychosis thing. One, I think he's on real firm footing talking about religious psychosis, but 2, he's not really getting that. He's really given a critique of the culture and the behavior. He's not really going down that route, but if he were, I think he'd be on good footing. And the other thing is, we have to understand that like what we did before was we looked up psychosis in general to say like, what is psychosis? And yes, I think religion leads to psychosis. I just think it qualifies, it fits. You could just go down the point by point and it's all right there. But then there's also, you have to understand religious psychosis. What do I mean by that? It's like any other thing. Like there's narcissism and then there's religious narcissism. So there's sort of a unique expression of those things that is affiliated with the practice of the religion itself. So I think once you get to that level of breadth, you're really safe. Like you're really safe because that would explain how a person could be, for instance, of good health mentally in other areas of their life, not really demonstrate what we consider, you know, patterns of mental health crisis or anything like that in other areas of their life, but still then be able to look at their religious practice and what they are like when they're consumed in their religious experience and still see the evidence of it there, right? And that's what we mean when we say something like religious psychosis. It's like you're saying that the psychosis is sort of restricted to a particular aspect of that person's life. So just to kind of wrap that whole thing up, I think he's in good standing, and I think the best thing we could do is just understand like it's a good title for a video, and he's trying to make cultural commentary. But yeah, all right, I'm gonna let him roll.
back to slavery, you know, getting lynched. Why not show love to them? But instead, we give all our thanks to Jesus and you know, God. It's like, it's so backwards. And listen, if you are a Christian, this is no shot at you. Like I said, I want you to critical think. I don't want to hear the line, oh, Christianity was in Africa. Yes, it was in Ethiopia. Do y'all know how big Africa was? Like I say all the time, we Black Americans are descendants of West Africa. West Africa and Ethiopia is very far apart. Now let's get back on topic of the Deontay Cal video. He made this, right? And one thing about Deontay Cal on TikTok is that, bro, pretty much everybody loves him, okay? Like, he says a lot of valid points, and you know, he's pretty much loved throughout the whole app. But when he made this video, man, he had some people mad. And it just shows you, like, I don't know if the Black community is really ready to make that next step, because it means we have to let go of, you know, religion and everything that has held us back through these years.
Let me tell y'all something. That Deontay Kyle.
We're not. And this is something, I'm gonna let it roll, but I want y'all to understand what I think about this. We're not ready, and we need help. Part of the commentary I have about our culture being dominated by these religions is just literally made us incapable of defending ourselves in this society, and we don't have the tools. So we really do need the people that have left, the people that can see through it, the people that understand that it's not true. Like, we need those people to feel some kind of obligation, some kind of imperative to really like help. And the other thing is, we have to stop waiting for permission. I feel like what a lot of us are doing is we're trying to negotiate our value. We're trying to negotiate our worth in a space where we know people don't value where we're coming from. And so you wait for them to sort of signal to you that it's safe. And so you're basically waiting for believers to tell you as a non-believer, it's okay for you to express your non-belief. It's okay for you to challenge my religion. It's okay for you to complain or protest the fact that you don't have representation in the government, that you don't have representation in positions of leadership, that your rights are being oppressed. And it is a lot going on, y'all, because again, we're losing ground. I feel like, particularly as a marginalized person, like, there's been a lot of L's since Trump took office, and a lot of our lives are turned upside down. A lot of us have lost jobs and have had to deal with a lot of economic turmoil. A lot of us are losing our funding. We're losing our community programming. We're losing our scientific grants. I mean, I should really do a stream and come on here and just talk about how my personal life has gone to hell in a fucking handbasket since Donald Trump has taken over. Like, and I know that I'm not alone in that. And even those of us that manage to work something out or get by, or we're still healing, we're still alive, that sort of betrays, like, it sort of makes it seem like it's all good, everything's okay, you know, our lives haven't changed all that much today compared to what they maybe were a couple of years ago, when in reality, a lot of us, our lives are dramatically different than they were a couple years ago. The fact that we're still alive and still breathing does not mean that everything's okay. It just means it hasn't killed us yet. So, so you know, we really are struggling, and that's sort of where a lot of this tone change comes from me. It's a real life urgency. It's like it's not a word game.
Young man on the Chicken and Grits or Eggs and Grits podcast, he gonna lead y'all straight to the ancestors that are burning in hell right now, demons.
So our ancestors are demons burning in hell. Our ancestors, the one that endured the beatings, the lynchings, the boiling alives, the babies eaten, the horses torn apart from, those people are in hell, but not the people that did it to them. You see what I mean, bro? Whenever you let a Black Christian talk long enough, they're going to...
Yeah.
I want you to know, this young man just made an amazing point. The abusers are in, according to the faith, right? If they repented, die essentially washed clean of their sins. the people that they abused, who didn't necessarily have the same education or conviction to the Christian religion, are to suffer not only in this life, but in eternity.
Yeah, yeah,
So, and that is completely fair in the minds of so many believers. I
it
don't get
is.
how they do it. I used to believe in the Christian God. I used
It's
to believe in
inhuman.
Christianity until I read the Bible. And one of the roughest things on me was seeing the cruelty of the biblical God. And I got to the point where it was so easy for me to realize, if I am better than that,
But
this God is not better than me.
because that's what first of all, so many of them, they don't read, they're not in there. But I don't even give that as a pass. I don't give it as a pass. I don't, because they know the stories. They know the stories, but they've been brainwashed from such a young age that God is good all the time, and all the time is God is good, and God is love, and God works in mysterious, delirious, cheeriest ways. And it's just like so they just go along with it, and that's what I'm saying. That's why it's on us to stop that. We have to stop that. We have to say, I'm sorry, you cannot tell me somebody that drowned the planet is all loving. Period. End of story. The
Yeah,
conversation is over.
it can't be true.
It just, like, stop.
Hmm.
You understand? Like, and because if we don't, we're allowing them to say that to us. This is and I'm dealing with this with my family. I don't speak to my mother. And my dad came at me the other day about it. He was like, oh, because my dad and my mom have been hella divorced since I was like 3. But they've always kept it real friendly, so they could co-parent well together. So even now they still talk. And I was like, I really don't have anything to say to her. I told her she was in a hate group against people like me. She's still in that group. We have to stop this. We have to stop pretend like that woman raised me a Christian. I know what Christianity says about non-believers. Don't gaslight me. That book don't and it don't. I don't care what your view of hell is. It's the whole, like I always say, let's do the math, y'all. We know that book is responsible for the hatred of LGBTQ people. How many passages in the Bible did it take to make that a reality? Literally like a handful or less, but it's still undeniably the reality. Okay, now go back through and count the stories and passages about anybody considered a non-believer or an actual enemy of this God of theirs, and see what God did to those people, and count that number of passages. And gang, also, I'm gonna tell you another reality I thought of. Go over to Lil Chrissy channel and subscribe to Uncle Bobby. If you're not subscribed to Uncle Bobby, I don't know what you're doing with your life. Oh, I do. You're watching inferior content on YouTube. That's what you're doing. Literally. Okay, so
Maybe watching hot program right now.
well, not all of the content's inferior, but he always talks about how anything but an atheist. He's done a number of episodes on this, and they literally do these surveys, and they talk about, like, basically which marginalized group do people hate the most, and it's usually atheists. They hate atheists more than they hate rapists. They hate atheists more than they hate Black people. So it's just unbelievable. People use the term godless as a slur. Like the term, like when they want to talk about they're like godless left.
People have used that against me on some of my interlocutors on Facebook, and
It's like
I don't have to be shy about saying, you're godless too. You just haven't read enough yet to know it.
Yeah, right.
Just about 1,300 pages, and you may not need to page through all of them to get there.
So we got to stop with the word games. The reality is, if you were to take the Christian faith seriously, you are engaging in hatred against people who are non-believers. And again, it's like the conversations about racism. I can't believe I have to explain these type of things to Black people. But what do you do anytime a person says some racist shit, or better yet, supports a racist organization? What are they going to say? I'm not racist. I don't have anything against you because you were Black. I grew up in a Black neighborhood. I have Black friends. I took a Black girl to prom, right? And we have to explain to these people over and over and over again. I don't care if you don't use the N-word and burn crosses. When you vote for Republicans, despite the fact that you know you're racist, that they're racist, that's an act of racism, because you're letting me know racism isn't a deal breaker for you. And matter of fact, you're literally enabling the racists to be in power so they can marginalize me. And that is exactly what the Christians in our lives are doing to us. I don't care if you don't personally have a problem with me being a non-believer. I don't care if you don't personally have animosity towards atheists. You are part of a hate group against us, and you continue to legitimize that hatred, worship that hatred, sing songs about it, give it 10% of your income, and you would not vote for somebody who's an atheist, which means you don't think we should have representation. You don't think our rights should be fought for and advocated. Most of y'all would not date somebody who is not an atheist, which means you really don't think we're fully deserving of love or to be part of your life or to be part of your family. You literally don't think that it's a good idea to be in a relationship. What the fucked up kind of shit is that? So it's just at a point where it's like, let's just stop the BS. Because again, I'm not doing them any favors by pretending that Christianity, if they truly practiced it, they do all these loving, wonderful things. No, the reality is they are truly practicing it, and that's the problem.
Sound like a white supremacist. There's no way around that shit, bro. I mean it. And it's like everything that is from Black people's descent or African descent is always demonic. Us using nature is demonic. How? But it ain't demonic for these people to go around killing people that don't believe in Jesus Christ.
Oh, wait, hang on a second. I gotta rewind this because he hit us with his punchline, y'all.
Those people are in hell, but not the people that did it to them. You see what I mean, bro? Whenever you let a Black Christian talk long enough, they're going to sound like a white supremacist.
Boom, there it is. Whenever you let a Black Christian talk, they are going to eventually sound like a white supremacist.
There's no way around that shit, bro. I mean it. And it's like everything that is from Black people's descent or African descent is always demonic. Us using nature is demonic. How? But it ain't demonic for these people to go around killing people that don't believe in Jesus Christ. That's not demonic, though. Actually going around unaliving people because they don't want to believe in the same religion as you, that's not demonic, though. And the crazy thing about Christianity, bro, you can kill as many people as you want, but guess what? All you gotta do is believe in Jesus Christ or whatever. I don't know how. That's how it go, right? But say me, I don't want to subscribe to the Christianity religion. Oh, I'm going to hell because I don't want to hear what they gotta say. But a man that can murder people is going to the head. Man, listen, y'all got that shit, bro. I'm sorry. If you actually sit down and think about it, you see how stupid it sounds. And I'm just being 100, bro. You free y'all minds for real, cuz.
Let me tell y'all something. Remember when my channel first started popping off? Not this one, my big one that they took, because I talked about Israel. When that started to get, I started getting a lot more followers, baby, I was approached by the wicked ones in my sleep 3 nights in a row. And I told y'all that story about the demon that was, wanting to make a deal with me, and it had the candles lit on my candelabra on my nightstand. And in order for me to agree with it, I would have had to light the last candle.
I swear to God.
I said, no. But 3 nights in a row. Do y'all really think that other influencers on here, just because they're not Hollywood or celebrities, you think they're not getting approached too?
So Deontay Kyle made a video basically telling Black people to appreciate their ancestors, and that was the work of the devil. I mean, like, by her logic, that just sounds so fucking stupid. And it's like these Black Christians are so brainwashed, man. I mean, like, I say this all the time. I have conversations with y'all all the time in the comments. Everything that has freed Black people was from Black people. I don't care if they were Christian. A lot of y'all love to use the argument that during the civil rights movement, MLK and stuff, they were using Christian, they was in the churches and stuff. Who built those churches? Who put the resources in those churches? Who was actually strategizing? Those were the works of black people, or even just people. God didn't strike down and put a church right there. God didn't strike down and put the resources in there. We had to actually go do that ourselves. And if that was the case, why did it take 400 years just for God to actually intervene? Why didn't he do it right away? It just don't make sense, bro. Critical thinking. You cannot be a Christian and critical think. It does not go hand in hand. You will start pointing out so many hypocrisies. You will start, it is very bad. And one thing about the Bible and Christianity, you can literally find a scripture or whatever verse that can justify everything. It's things in there that'll justify slavery, justify, doing stuff to kids. So it's like, man, I'm cool on that, bro. I'm just gonna be a good person, and whatever happens when I go, it happens. All I know is that I did my best as being a great human being on earth, bro. You know what I'm saying? Because it's like I said, I could kill 100 people and then just say, oh God, I'm sorry, and he forgive me and go to heaven. It's stupid, bro.
They absolutely are. And
Yeah, and honestly, that doctrine itself is ridiculous. First off, it is a terrible doctrine. Listen, at the end of the day, y'all, it is what it is. Do I think forgiveness has a place and value? Yeah, of course, of course. Do I think accountability is important? Yeah, absolutely. So we just have to deal with that and the reality of what it is. Like, when you do something wrong, yeah, you should say you're sorry. You should take whatever responsibility comes as a consequence of your actions. You deal with that. You should try to make amends with people who you hurt. Yeah. You should do the work to change. Yeah. And if you've done the work to change, you should even work on forgiving yourself, because you can't go undo the things that you did, no matter how horrible they were. So ultimately, yeah, you got to work on yourself. And if you really grow, then you're not that person anymore. If you used to steal all the time and then you decided, I don't want to live like this, you got yourself a job and you don't steal anymore, you're no longer a thief. But this idea that you could just wish upon a star and make it all go away, that is a horrible, immoral, toxic message. And then you literally have it to the point where we still allow Catholic priests in the Catholic Church to lobby the government and protest the fact that everybody else who would come across that sensitive type of information becomes a mandatory reporter. But they could literally tell us that the seal of confession is supposed to be absolute and powerful to the point that somebody could come into them, confess a horrible crime, no matter if it's all the way up to and through, I did a mass murder, and they won't say anything. Like, what?
Yeah, the social contract is simple. It needs to say, if we can defend each other, we should. It's that simple. From somebody who's an evildoer, such as you just described, right?
Yeah.
Someone comes in and they confess being, some sort of person who will end the lives of others. We're done. The next phone call is to the police. You're texting them. The priest should be texting them while they're sitting in the confessional, right? Listening to the story and doing whatever they can to keep that person there so that the authorities can pick them up.
Exactly. Yeah. They should
It's
just
not
have a
simply,
little. They should have a little button,
ideas.
a little button underneath.
Exactly.
But see, they know people would stop going to confession, and then they know the grift would be up. That's the whole thing. It's just ridiculous that we allow this and that we teach this as moral, or that the people who execute this system then turn around and tell us that they are the moral ones, that we should be. This is what I'm saying to y'all. Like, we got to talk about that. We have to stop letting Christians pretend they're more moral. Y'all are the least moral people. Do you not understand that? Do y'all not understand that even when you do the right thing, you do the right thing for the wrong reasons? When a man comes up to me and he says, I love my wife, and he says, I am faithful to her, and I provide for my family, and I notice there are so many beautiful women around me, and I'm all right, and I try to be good to people. So hey, once in a while, a beautiful young lady throws a little something my way, but I'll be like, nah, I would never. because I'm holding it down for this woman I committed to and what we have. I would never even think about that. I'm like, get it. Yeah, go husbands, go fathers, y'all up in here. Okay, family, man. And I do it because my Lord and Savior Jesus commands it to be that way. And I must spend my eternity with him. And if it wasn't for him, I'd be fucking all sorts of bitches. I'd be all over. I'd probably be fucking my kids all the way up. I don't even think I'd come home after work. I'd probably just go drinking. And I'm like, oh my God, get away from me. Oh my God, you're not safe. Oh my goodness, please call. I'm about to call the cops. 911, 911, come help me. Come help me. Y'all are scary. I'm afraid of you. That sounds like a disaster. No, when somebody tells me I do all that because I committed to it and it's the right thing to do, that's when we think you're a good person. So even when y'all do the right thing, you do it for the wrong reasons.
Mm-hmm.
To a point that's crazy, that they'll literally tell you. Oh, I think I'd be, and the best part about it is that I don't believe them. Like when a Christian tells me, oh, if I wasn't a Christian, I'd be thieving and I wouldn't work. And I'm like, no, I don't believe you. Mostly because y'all are punks. Y'all are punks, like you're punks, like you're a punk. You're not going to do all those things. You think you would because you think if you weren't a Christian, you'd just be this big and bad. You're not. You just don't. You just. Nah, you're going to just be you a little conformist. But that's why you're a Christian, just because you're a conformist. So you still going to be conforming when you leave Christianity. So the good news is we really don't believe them. But the fact that they even would say that in English words that we can understand is wild.
Deontay Kyle, he been doing this. Why do you think he been into that ancestral worship? Y'all just didn't know it.
What's wrong with worshiping your ancestors?
Why do you think all of a sudden he boom explode out of nowhere? What he did was he got black folks hyped up over being black and white people being jacked up. He ain't said nothing that all of us ain't already know or say a million times over. He's not doing anything special, nothing. But all of a sudden he come out of nowhere, boom, explode. Why do you think that is? And the moment he got y'all hooked in with the being black, I'm black and I'm proud, and white people are toe up, and okay. Soon as he did that, what he say? Jesus is standing in your way.
I mean, he is.
Where do you think that came from?
Bro, it's like, I don't understand what go through these Christians' mind, bro. Black people are still at the bottom of every totem pole today, but yet we are the biggest and strongest Christians. If you go outside right now, if I go back to my mama neighborhood, I will see about 10 churches in the vicinity. Churches everywhere, but the neighborhoods are poor, run down, poverty, drugs everywhere. What the fuck is Christianity doing for the black community? It's not doing.
I'd like to comment on what he just said.
Yeah.
Persecution is proof that you're being faithful. Isn't that what the Bible tells them? It's gonna happen. And that's how you know you must be the most faithful. When the devil is coming against you, you must be the most faithful. He's just going to leave people, these reprobate people, he's just going to leave them alone. He doesn't have to spend any of his time, spend any work and any investment into those sorts of people. It's the faithful that he pursues. It's the faithful that he sicks his demons on. It's the faithful that the unfaithful will put under attack.
All right. Can you still hear us? The screen went black again. I think he's got a.
Right,
oh
I still
yeah.
hear Pocket Locker?
Yeah, you're back.
I don't think I am.
Yeah, he comes back and then I don't think he can see it on his end. I'll let him pop back in and yeah. All right, here we go.
That I guess I'm very popular today.
Yeah. So I know we want to get out of here. So I'll give you any closing thoughts and then we'll pick this back up next week.
First of all, thanks everyone for tuning in. We appreciate it. I think the takeaway for believers who are watching, let's make that altar call, Pocket Locker. We humbly invite you to read your biblical text cover to cover, and feel free to ask us questions when you have them. There's a great awakening awaiting for you as you page through the pages of the Bible and read it with a student's heart and learn that it has marginal notes that explain things that will shock you and educate you at the same time. To learn that the seeds of racism are there, whether you know it or not. To learn a bit about political propaganda, because that's in there too. And also to reason within yourself that snakes and bushes and donkeys do not talk. They simply don't. If you look in geography, we don't have evidence of a worldwide flood as described in the Bible. If you study zoology, you quickly learn that the ark was too small to hold the food that it was supposed to give to the animals that were supposed to be set on it. You'll learn that some things the Bible states as true aren't true. Like there's no metal sky dome surrounding the earth as it states in Genesis. Well, if it's getting things wrong on the first few pages, lower your expectations. And if you think it's okay that God is sovereign and everybody's life belongs to Him instead of people having their own autonomy, then the person or the being to blame for human beings doing the most awful things is not themselves, it's the God.
Yeah, definitely. And I would just say like um to take this challenge in good faith. Like Christianity's not true. And it's important to hear people say it. But yeah, I do think it's if if there were people listening, I would say, we want to help you undedicate your life to Christ. So join the Discord. There's a link in the description. Come hang out at the virtual headquarters. Come talk to people. Come, be in community with non-believers, and have a safe place to really ask those questions, and yeah, talk to the things you may not be comfortable speaking about or asking within Christian community. I really feel almost a weird sense that like part of our responsibility is to really educate people about non-belief, because there's so many people that actually don't know any non-believers. And so the reality is, for so many, life outside of Christianity isn't even something they've ever considered.
Hmm.
So it's important when we can to show up and let people know who we are. Like myself, I wonder, um, how much I should expose my students, and for instance, to atheism and non-belief, because on one hand, I of course it's a scary thing. I'd be afraid of you know the backlash if my own lack of faith was discovered. But at the same time, I feel like, especially if it's topically appropriate, like it's important to expose people to ideas in the world, especially
Hmm.
ones they may not have exposure to otherwise, especially if they can, get it from a friendly source or whatever. So, yeah, these are the type of things we should be thinking about. But yeah, I think it's good to end with an altar call and invite people to begin on this journey, take that first step with us, and yeah, undedicate your life to Christ. That's the mission around here.
Again, this is the saying. I love this expression on the internet. I love it so much. Do your research.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
do it. Don't get your opinion from somebody else. Don't let your opinion be assigned to you. Use your mind,
Yes.
right?
I love
I
that. Do not
uh
let your
I
opinion be assigned to
I
you.
was with my daughter yesterday and I had my shirt off and there are scars here from surgeries I've had, life-saving surgery. My daughter put her little tiny fingers on those scars and she was looking at them. And I didn't think about, oh, isn't it lovely that I have the saving grace of Jesus Christ and God that smiled upon me and made it so I can have these surgeries. that, have preserved my life. I immediately thought of the doctor who looked at me and had the courage to not give a hoot what I thought about what he was going to say, and said, I'm going to get you a defibrillator. You're going to have to get
Yeah.
that. He looked at all my test results, like, buddy, you're in rougher shape than you think.
Mm.
We're going to save your life.
Wow.
And when my daughter was smaller, I had one part of her name is part of his name. And he knows that. But I didn't credit God or Jesus. I gave him the credit. And the
Yeah.
fact that I'm holding her there in my arms and she's touching these scars is very meaningful to me. And I wish I'd had my camera so I could snap a picture of her tiny little fingers next to those two scars. And I have them because of him, and I have her because of him in all likelihood. That matters to me. And one day I hope she understands, like, wow, my father really has a lot of reverence for these two doctors, because without them, there probably wouldn't be a me. And I'd have to, at some point, explain that to her, maybe more than once, depending on how old she is, right?
Right.
But she's now at a point where she can recognize my body is different than hers in a lot of ways, but particularly these two scars. She doesn't have them. Her mother doesn't have them. But there's something about dear old dad where he does. So her eyes from that standpoint are going to be open that this was the act of some human beings who are very dedicated to being lifesavers.
Yeah.
And if any of them are, if any of them are religiously minded and people of prayer and things like that, that's all fine. That's all fine. But those days where they did my surgeries, they didn't simply stand by with the ICD on the table and ask God to put it in me. They didn't ask
Right.
God to develop some sort of healing for me. They didn't read Mark 16 through 18 and say, well, we can just lay hands on them. We don't have to stick this expensive device in there. It was none of that. It was, let's get to work, everybody. Mr. Friend, what kind of music do you want to listen to? And I'm like, you guys pick it. I'm going to be unconscious. It was that simple,
Right.
you know.
All right, gang. Well, we appreciate you. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. It's
Mhm.
been a fun episode. Thanks to everybody in the chat. It's really good to see everybody. Thank you so much to our mods. As always, there are links in the description to stay in touch with the community. You can join the Discord, come hang out at the Live HQ. But there's also a link in the description to support Lina. If you've got a few dollars to chip in or wouldn't mind sharing the link, we greatly appreciate it. And as always, be good to yourselves.
And each other.